Hi, William here again. Now, a few weeks ago I was given a rather interesting old oak beam which came from a property in the village where I live, which I know to be at least 400 years old, probably much older. Now, in my first video about this piece of oak, I went through the hazards of dealing with old wood, including finding nail and other metal artifacts in the wood, and in the same video I also produced a small Goldilocks bowl. Now, this very old piece of oak turned out to be brown oak, which is very pleasing on the eye and finishes extremely well. So today I'm going to turn the larger of the two large pieces which I've recovered from the beam. This piece is about 10.5 inches by 3 inches and is free of any metal artifacts. I'm going to use my bowl saver on this project and try and maximise on the use of the wood and get a large and a smaller bowl from it. Right, I'm going to mount this on the screw chuck, but before that just going to find the centre with Keith Barrow's centre finder, which is far more useful than the off-the-shelf commercial versions because it has a lot longer reach. Okay, I'm just going to true up the outside now with a spindle roughing gouge before facing up the base with a bowl gouge. And while I'm in the process of roughing this out, it occurred to me that I should consider keeping the weathered edge of the bowl as a kind of a live edge to make the piece a bit more interesting. Just truing up the base here with a 1/2 inch bowl gouge. Okay, just marking out the base of the bowl here using the 1/3 rule and also the recess for the chuck. Okay, so moving on, blowing out most of the dust with the air line, then cleaning the piece using some methylated spirits, which is a tip I picked up from Martin Sabin-Smith last week, and finally 2 coats of sanding sealer, denibbing between the coats. An ideal time here to use Yorkshire grit, of course, which is pretty much my default finish, along with the Hampshire Sheen range of finishes. A very pleasing result there with Yorkshire grit alone. Now that's done, time to reverse the piece back into the chuck. Okay, so just mounting up my woodcut bowl saver. Not something I use every week or even every month, but a very useful tool indeed. Once you've got it set up, it's quite easy to remount it back on the lathe. Just the distance between the bolt in the centre of the cutter and the back of the piece to be taken into consideration, and locking all the locks in place. can tell very easily when the bowl cutters are near the centre, because there's a definite change in the pitch of the cutting. Flippin' heck, these things always go wrong when you don't need them to. It took me several minutes to realise that I hadn't been recording. Okay, so picking it up again here, going down through the grits down to 240. Blowing as much dust out as possible with the airbrush. Washing out the residual dust with some meths. The 2 coats of sanding sealer with denibbing in between, then on to finish with grit and sheen. Moving on then to the smaller bowl. Okay, so there we have it then. 2 more bowls turned from the piece of very old brown oak, which was given to me about a month ago. I managed to keep the weathered edge on top of the bowls like I wanted to, and I think, although I'm not 100% sure it was the right thing to do, I quite like it, but it might not be to everybody's taste, of course. Not a very exciting project, but it was all about the history of the wood rather than the turning of the bowls.